Well, it was a small beginning, like lots of things, that in, I suppose, just at the very end of the last century, Warner's said, oh, could you do a record where you do like a record with different friends? We'd done a big band records and we'd done a few records for them, and they were starting to do all right. And they said, do a record of collaborations, which is a lot of people did. So I started ringing round and thinking people that suited our sort of music and kind of we had a natural empathy with, and also trying to work out people that you could, if you had songs I'd written that would suit other people, or other people you could write songs for. And the more we looked into it, the more we realised it was actually a really good vehicle, because there were some people who had songs but no vehicle for them. You know, they wouldn't suit their band or they wouldn't suit what they were doing, but it would suit doing it with us. And there were other people that I had songs for that would really suit them. And once we started, it sort of steamrolled. So we did the first record, and I think one of the first things we did was with Sting, who wanted to do a Willie Dixon song called The Seventh Son. And he's always been very helpful, Sting. And he said, yeah, I'd love to. He said, I love bass players and I love Willie Dixon and I love that blues thing. So he was one of the first people to agree, which gave it a lot of momentum.
Everybody's talking about that seventh son, and the whole round world is only one. I'm the one. Yes, I'm the one. I'm the one, I'm the one they call the seventh son. I can tell your future, it will come to pass. I can do things for you, make your heart feel glad. Look in the sky, predict the rain. I can tell when a woman's got another man. I'm the one. Yes, I'm the one. I'm the one, I'm the one they call the seventh son.
You know, in this series of records, we did 3 records of collaborations. We were going to call it Filthy Collaborators, but we thought the people doing it might not sort of like that very much. There were certain people that I'd always wanted to work with and loved their sound. And I've been very lucky because a lot of the things I've done, I've sat at the end of the piano and observed and been part of the music in that way. You know, I've engaged in music by listening to it, playing it, and writing it and performing it. And when you do that with somebody else who you really admire, it is a fantastic thing to do. Often when people come in, first everybody's a bit nervous and sort of, you could be awestruck of people that you've kind of followed all your life. But it's interesting because once the music begins, everybody levels out and they all become the servant of the song. And then that nervousness disappears because you're all concentrating on something else, which is the bigger picture.
I got a country woman. She's all right with me. I got a country woman. She's all right with me. She's about a hip-shaking woman, and she suits me to a T.
Feeling like a misfit, a stranger in your world. I'd like to make myself some friends and find myself a boy. I don't make no friends, it always works out wrong. I stumble and I bumble, but I find my way back home. Hold on, what's wrong? I've been here before, so long. I'm gone, don't want no misfit at your door.
And then the next person was George Harrison, which was sort of amazing because he said he wanted to do a track and then he wasn't as well as he had been. But what was interesting is that he said, look, here, he gave me a cassette of a song, which is this very extraordinary song called Horse to Water. And he said, I think the band that would really suit your style of playing. So we did it. And he was one of the only people that couldn't come and do it here in London with us because he wasn't very well. He was in London, he was in Switzerland. And so we went to see him in Switzerland. And we I went out with Sam Brown, who was going to help do some backing vocals. And when it came to doing the guitar part, he said, oh, I said, do you want to play guitar solo? So he said, get Mark Flanagan, the fellow that plays the guitar with me, who George knew. He said, get him to do it. He said, because he's from Bootle and he's a nice fellow. And I think it ended up being one of the most amazing solos that Mark's ever played, which is on a George Harrison, one of the world's famous guitarist songs. But it's the song that is the thing that really is the strong thing. And then when I went to see him to put the vocal on, he really wasn't very well. And I said, well, if you're not well, you don't really want to be doing this. And he said, no, I said I'd do it, so I want to do it. And he started to do it. And the most interesting thing was this, that by carrying out the act of music, for those moments while he was playing and singing, it kind of made him better and enabled him to be well, which I think is one of the extraordinary things about music. It does do that. It gets people out of where they are for the moment. But I think that was the last record he made, the one with us. Now, there's a lot of ways we work. Sometimes we record in a very old-fashioned way, which is this, which is, I mean, it used to be when people first recorded, I suppose in the 1920s or whenever it was, when recorded music first began, the length of time it took to take the record was the length of time it took you to perform it, because nobody did any overdubs or anything. Now, what we do now is we try and do a similar process to that. We've tried to return to that, believing that you capture something of the magic of the moment and the truth of what you're trying to do. And the more you try and fiddle about with it, the more you dilute away from the emotion of what that thing is. But sometimes we record with the whole big band, and sometimes we record with just a rhythm section. With Shane, we recorded a track with him, and then he did some other takes of the vocals. That's what we did. When he sings, it makes me, I want to cry, because he sings so beautifully. But he's not like, say, someone like Dionne Warwick, who is technically a brilliant singer, but he's got this feel that's so fantastic that it delivers the song straight to the arrow. The arrow goes straight to the target, which is your heart. And so when he agreed to do this song I'd written after visiting Sheerness, that was the greatest compliment you could possibly have, because he could sing, he could make sort of a piece of scrap metal burst into tears. He's got that strength in his voice. But he's a great poet himself. So when he said, yes, I'd like to do a song, which is a song I'd written, that was kind of the biggest compliment I think that anybody can give you, really, in the world. And when he sings a song, it kind of, it touches the emotion, which that's why he's a great singer, and that's what makes a great singer, somebody that gets to hear. The brain part's all right, but it's here that I love.
An orange on the table, your dress upon the floor, the two of us upon our bed, who could ask for more? Through traffic jams, past caravans, I traveled the whole night through. But I would give up everything just to be home with you. I would give up everything to be at home with you. I'd give up all my silver, I'd give up all my gold, and anything that I had left would be burnt or sold. Through driving rain, through fear and pain, I traveled the whole night through. But I would give up everything just to be home with you. I would give up everything to be at home with you.
We worked with Sam Brown for years, and also I wrote with her a lot. And she was sort of a singer with our group, and her mother and father have been part of British music for years, and she grew up, with the Faces and all these different sorts of elements of music, and is very dexterous musically, can play and sing, play the piano, can write very well. And we'd started writing together, and so we wrote Valentine Moon, which one evening, I went to this dinner on Valentine's night, and these very nice people called the Boyles. They're an artistic family from Greenwich, and they make sort of strange things that, like bits of road that they go on the wall. There was a very lovely fellow called Blake Morrison, who's a writer there. Yeah. And there was also this rather boring bloke called Edward de Bono, and he kept pontificating with these ideas and that. And he got so boring that then Blake Morrison looked out the window and said, "Look, that's the most beautiful moon I've ever seen." And I sort of looked and I thought, wow, it is an amazing moon. And it was a Valentine's night, and it looked like the most beautiful painting of a moon. De Bono still rabbiting on or whatever he was doing, oblivious to this sort of beauty. And we looked up and I said, that's amazing. And when I got home, there was a message on my answering machine from Sam Brown. She said, I've just seen this incredible moon. She said, that's the sort of thing that would have inspired people to write music for hundreds of years. She said, we've got to write something for that. So we wrote this song called Valentine Moon, which was great because it got used in EastEnders and stuff. And it was almost like a sort of a sing-along in pubs, which was great, in Bermondsey and things, which I thought was really very touching. No greater compliment could be played to your song.
The first time you kissed me at the end of our street, the gas lamps shone above us, young lovers we'd meet. But the old town has gone now, and it's winter too soon. Still we waltz beneath our Valentine moon.
Ruby Turner, like Sam Brown, is really part of the orchestra because she sings with us all the time. And she is fantastic because she can sing because she sings both sort of church music and blues music. And there's not many people that do that these days. You know, people did, you know, Bessie Smith came out of that sort of area. And Ruby is one of the few people that can really do that. She really can sing that boogie stuff and really hit it, and also and switch and do a hymn, and that's what people used to do in New Orleans, you know, before the First World War and everything. That's kind of, you know, in some ways she comes from that, and she's amazing because unique because she can do that. So yeah, she's on all of the records, I think, and will be. In fact, we recorded with her yesterday here. We're doing a new track with her for this new record. So yeah, she's always fantastic.
Then you'll know what it's like to love a child. If you have a child, you'll understand. If you don't, then take my hand, and I will tell you what it's like to love a child.
We had the whole Ronnie Wood family here because they all sing beautifully and play beautifully. He's just fantastic, Ronnie Wood. I mean, I just bathe in that man's company. There's nothing complacent about Ronnie, but he has. I tell you that he has the reason that he's in the Rolling Stones is because he has this vibe. It's like it's so weird. You can't quite put your finger on what it is, but as soon as he starts to play, he just plays the simplest thing. He appears to be playing it gently, but it's very loud and very clear, and suddenly everything around it falls into place. If you take out what he's doing, although it's really simple, the whole thing kind of implodes and doesn't really have a feel. And so when he's on stage with the Rolling Stones, he's doing this thing, but it makes the whole thing suddenly go and feel like that. And without him, it wouldn't feel the same. And it's not just his guitar playing, it's him, it's his vibration. He must be, like you get people, you must have met them yourself, that are rain gods or whatever, you know, or the various sort of people. He is a vibe person, and when he's playing, the vibe is right. And why it is, you know, and why some people have got it and why some people haven't, I don't know. But he's got it.
Ooh la la, ooh la la, la la, ooh la la, ooh la la, la la. I wish that I knew what I know now.
when I was growing up, I had the Beatles records, the Rolling Stones records, and I had all the Motown chartbusters. I loved all those Motown chartbusters. And of course, Edwin Starr was always on them, you know, 00 Soul and Agent 00 Soul and Stopper on Sight. And I worked with him a couple of times, and I was always amazed because he never used monitors to hear his own voice, which every other singer has. His voice is so loud, he couldn't care whether there was monitors or not, so he just belted stuff out. And he came and sang a song I'd written called Snowflake Boogie, and it was just great because he just belts it out. He's like a cross between an opera singer and a sort of an R&B singer. It's like if you were to mash the two together, as Edwin Starr, and sadly he's no longer here now.
Oh, give me a who, take a heart, shake your wicked knees right where you are. Tick the clock, bang the drums, cut a rug, here it comes, 'cause the time is tight, so am I. Will you laugh, will you cry, move your feet, shake your hand. Autumn leaves come tumbling down, and the snow white flakes are on the ground. Just waste no more time fooling around. Act today on what you have found, yeah.
Suggs, it was just after Ian Dury had died. And Suggs said, "Oh, let's write a song about Ian." And he used to go and see him in a pub in the City Road. And so there's a song, "Oranges and Lemons Again," and "In and Out the Eagle," which is the pub. And so it's about him. And then and it has a sort of ska feel and a nuttiness about it, which is what I love about Suggs. And then we later recorded one called Jack of the Green, because where he went on holiday, he'd hear this sort of tune, this dum da 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 da, which is when they have the Jack of the Green or the Green Man thing, which has happened for hundreds, thousands of years. And he heard it in Kent, where he used to go, and then when he went on holiday to Italy, he heard it the same tune in a little village there.
Yes, and coming around the corner of this rather golden archway, entrance to this medieval town, were a band of Italian men playing, if not that tune, one very, very similar. Very similar indeed.
I just said it was identical. So we weaved this folk theme into our own Jack of the Green and then put it in. But so Suggs is a great person, also because he's aware of certain angles of music that not everybody else would be.
And here comes the summer and it's not all bad. It'll never be as good as the ones we've had. Jack of the Green. Here comes the summer, let's float upstream. Jack of the Green. Here comes the summer, life is but a dream.
I think most people that perform and play music have a broader understanding of music and understand a lot of the music, or enjoy a lot of music that they don't necessarily play. There's lots of things I like listening to that I couldn't hope to play, but I quite like listening to them. I think that these records have been like that for some of the artists. And with Huey from the Fun Loving Criminals, it was great because he wanted to do a real big band thing. And he loved Frank Sinatra. And the record that I really liked of Frank Sinatra is called Sinatra at the Sands, where he works with the Count Basie Orchestra, because I always really liked Count Basie, And we did it on our New Year's Eve show with Huey. And it's had such a vibe. It had the Sinatra at the Sands vibe to it, which, only somehow he could have, because it has just an element of there's confidence and there's an element of mischievousness about it all at the same time, and that sort of America that I love, which is a sort of the big, friendly, powerful fella.
Now this man right here, he's gonna take me by the hand and lead me down the right path to righteousness and all that other mother jazz. In the right tempo. Fly me to the moon and let me sing among those stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand and hold it tight. In other words, baby, kiss me. Why don't you fill my heart with song and let me swing forevermore. 'Cause you are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, babushka, I love you. You, yeah.
Richard Hawley, formerly of Pulp, what a great group, and Richard, whenever we played in Sheffield with my big band, he would get up and play with us because, you know, in the lead mill and stuff, and we used to play there. And he was great, you know, and it was so marvellous he's having some success on his own. His voice is so beautiful, it's great. It was really good to kind of do stuff with him. And also, he loves a lot of the hillbilly stuff, which I really love.
Hear that lonesome whippoorwill. He sounds too blue to fly. The midnight train is winding low. I'm so lonesome I could cry.
Oh, the Sugar Babes, they were a treat. Now, Mucha is now out on her own.
Oh my God.
I know. I've never ever asked for autographs before. Never ever been up to no one for an autograph.
They've all got great voices. Mucha's got this really kind of, she's really got something on else, I think. And it was great when they came down. And again, you learn, like, they're kind of really professional, really good at what they do. They kind of listen to the song, they learn the song. I'd written it with my brothers, the song, like I said, Dr. John sort of riff and that. But they really focused and concentrate. You can see them, I think, in the film even. They're kind of looking at the music, looking at the words. And they weren't like messing about. They kind of got it. And then not only could they learn it, they could do it like that, you know. So they're natural musicians, you know, and they're very good at it. And it's great also to play with people that come from a different angle, you know, from the pop world, you know. And you know, for us, they're in a much more stressed world than we are. They're under much more pressure. You've got to have a hit or you get out, sort of thing, you know. For us, we're not in that world. We just make music and we carry on doing what we're doing, sort of thing. So they actually were far more kind of match fit than we are in lots of ways. They're ready to kind of get it right, you know. So it was good. It was great to have their vibration in there.
How can I make it better until I know what's wrong? How can I find the key until I hear the song? I send you a letter, I send you an email, I send you a text. Whatever is better, don't be an upsetter, just let me know what's best. I feel like I'm on fire, but there's nothing I can do. If you give me the time, it'll be just fine if I could talk to you. Please, can I talk to you? Let's start negotiation. Yeah. Please, can I state my view? Start communicating.
David Gray, again, was, I mean, when I first met him, he was still sort of in the folk world, really, I suppose, and it was just great, but he's got such a great voice. He wanted to do this Randy Newman song, and I just think he does it great. It's just something, it's just like a great song and a great singer singing it, and it's done very simply. Sometimes that's the way that kind of connects and communicates the thing best of all.
Broken window and the empty hallway, a pale dead moon in the sky streaked with grey. Human kindness is overflow. and I think it's going to rain today. Scarecrows dressed in the latest style, with frozen smiles to chase love away. Human kindness is on the floor, and I think it's going to rain today. Lonely, lonely.
One of the other important things about music for me has been that it's not about age or fashion, or so you can have people that are very young, like say Katie Tunstall, who are coming from the same place in that they could, you know, like she could sing anything really. She's just got that sort of a voice, you know, a sort of voice that can communicate music.
The morning that you left me was just another day. How could I see the sorrow that had found me? And then you laughed and told me that I was in your way. I turned round as heaven fell around me. I stumbled through the darkness, my footsteps were unsure. I lived within a world that had no sunshine. And when you left me, darling, my world came to an end, and there was darkness on the faces of the earth. The stars fell out of heaven, and the moon could not be found. The sun was in a million pieces, scattered all around. Why did you ever leave me when you knew how it would hurt? Now there's darkness on the face of the earth. Yes, there's darkness on the face of the earth.
Jimmy Scott is one of the people left from the Jazz Age. There's not many of them left because the Jazz Age was a long time ago, but he sang with the Duke Ellington Orchestra and with big bands, and first sort of his records were quite popular in the sort of 1940s in America. He's written a biography, which is kind of it's quite heart-rending. He had a very hard time. He's and of course, to really get the story, you have to read his biography. But it's a great honour when you have somebody from the Jazz Age actually recording with you. And I said to him, this is so great. I said, what was it like when you recorded with Duke Ellington? He said, well, it's the same as this, you know. It was one take and we sing it and you play it and, you know. Of course, oh, God, great. But and it's fantastic as well to touch the hand. Let's touch the hand of, you know, being all that. And so he's kind of, it's a great privilege to have somebody from that age, you know, from that time.
I've been seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces. wishing well. I'll be seen.
It's a very rare and unusual sight that Bob Geldof appears to be quite happy, and there's no swearing. But that's because we edited that out. There was a lot of swearing, which we enjoyed very much at the end of it, which he put in. He ad-libbed in. In fact, I think there's a version somewhere you can get it on. You can download it somewhere. It's marvellous. So, but it was great. And he, again, is a great Chris Christopherson fan whose songs are... And Chris Christopherson actually dedicated songs to Bob when he played in London. Because, so if you want to... And there you see, that's what I mean. You get to find little things out about people with these records that you wouldn't have known otherwise. You wouldn't have known that Bob was a Chris Christopherson fanatic.
He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher and a problem when he's stoned. He's a walking contradiction, he's partly truth but partly fiction. He's taking every wrong direction on his lonely way back home.
Robert Plant is another one of the original British boogyists. You know, all these people, like Humphrey Lyttelton, Rolling Stones, Robert Plant, they come from the same area, which is British people that love the boogie and have an instinctive feel for it and come originally from that world. This is the sort of music he sings in his bath. He doesn't have us with us in his bath with him, but this is the sort of music he likes to do in his bath. This is his favourite sort of thing, really.
She let my poor heart full of sorrow. Let me boogie woogie roll and drive my blues away. Let's go.
Mark Knopfler, again, another British boogieist at heart, although that's not what everybody knows him for, has a feeling for that. And we did a couple of tracks with Mark. And he always just, again, he's a bit like, he has the Ronnie Wood vibration of when he starts to play, everything seems to go, you can't quite work out why, but everything sort of locks in. It's a bit like when you have a conversation with somebody, if there's a few of you sitting around and one person is very funny, you know, it makes everybody seem funnier. Well, you know what it is, they start talking, everybody's stories seem funny, you know, the whole thing's better. And he's like that, he comes in and everything's lifted up and you can't quite understand why it is until they've gone. Paul Carrack replaced me when I was in Squeeze, and he's got one of the great voices of all time. So we wrote a song called "It's So Blue," and that was, and "It's So Blue" is kind of really good as a soul sort of ballad because he's got that voice. He's got one of those voices where you just hear it, and it's kind of. It just gets you in the right place. Some people, you know, just have a voice that just communicates, you know, and they could sing the phone book and it would sound good, really, you know.
Take these chains from my heart, set me free. Take these chains from my heart and set me free.
the thing with Mark Almond is that his voice now is like much stronger and better than it was then, you know. I mean, it was a good voice then, but now it's sort of really come on. And so the arrangement that we ended up doing of it, I think with him singing it, actually, you know, it does sound stronger than the original because his voice sounds so much stronger now, which is quite a dangerous world to be in and quite a big boast for me to make.
Thinking about the things that might have been, and it's a dirty, rotten shame, yeah. Talking about you and me and the games people play.
Louise Marshall, I'll mention just because anybody who's seen this DVD will probably notice her around because she started singing with us and has such a beautiful voice that we put her on a last record doing Sweet Dreams because she has like an operatic voice, really. And so I think we're going to get her to sing more and more. And you'll see, and she sings backing vocals. She sweetens up a lot of what we do. So that's why we should mention her. So when you see her in the DVD, you go, oh, it's her. Oh, I see her, it's her. Oh, her.
Sweet dreams of you. Every night I go through. Why can't I forget you and start my life anew instead of having sweet dreams about you?
Solomon Burke is, of course, the king of soul. And a lot of people, like Otis Redding and Van, have listened carefully to his style and used it in their own way. He's been a great influence on people. And he came on our New Year's Eve show, and I got on with him so well. I mean, he could have been like my twin brother, actually, except he doesn't look anything like me at all and he's much older. Yeah. But we got on so well, we said, well, let's just write some songs. Anyway, we'd written a couple of songs and we were coming in the studio, and that day, Mark Flanagan, my guitarist, he had to take his mum to the hospital. And obviously, so he couldn't make the sessions. And I thought, just who could we get in? And I suddenly thought, well, you could just ring Eric Clapton and see if he wanted to do it. You never know. So I said, but it's just a session sort of thing, but would you? And he said, well, I've always wanted to work with Solomon Burke. So he came in for the day, and by this strange fluke of coincidence, and started playing. And of course, it was like blistering what he was doing over the top of what Solomon then did. And Solomon really is a stream of consciousness man. So a lot of the time he was just making the words up. You know, I suppose this is what's called improvisational music in a lot of ways. You know, Eric Clapton is improvising this guitar solo, Solomon's improvising the words, and then we end up with a song. And I think that's kind of great, you know, so you're almost writing it as it's being recorded. I mean, it's kind of a very odd way to work. But Solomon is just amazing. He just sort of emanates kind of good vibrations.
Down to the country, and I'm going somewhere way out of town. Oh, I'm moving down to the country. Oh, I'm going to turn my whole life. Let me tell you why I'm moving, y'all.
Well, Tom, we did one track with him on our second record of Friends. So what happened, the first record of Friends, took everybody by surprise. It was such a tremendous success. It sold so much. They said, oh, well, you know, could you do another one? I thought, well, that seems a bit odd. But there were lots of people. For instance, Tom Jones had been on later, and he ended up presenting me with a platinum record for the Friends record. And he said, there's only one thing wrong with this. I said, what's that? He said, I'm not on it. And he wasn't. So I thought, well, let's do another one just to get Tom on. And then we ended up doing a whole record with Tom because he's so great. So we wrote a couple of songs together. They worked. Started putting him on the record, and he was just such a pleasure to record with because he is like a font of knowledge of music and so professional. One take, he comes from the old school where he hits it at the right time and feels it at the right time. And it's just great. So when we recorded largely with just a rhythm section with him, and he'd be standing there, and then we'd be here, and he wouldn't say, there'd be endless faffing about, and he wouldn't say anything, and then we'd hit the song, and suddenly, out would come this thing, which is his voice, which is the thing that people maybe don't know about Tom is the thing that he loves the best is kind of Jerry Lee Lewis and boogieism. So we got on very well, and he has a huge knowledge of all that roots music. He really does know that, and he never writes anything down. And we did some stuff live with him. He remembers the words to every song. I mean, it's unbelievable without writing anything down. It's quite incredible.
So they know I died standing in path. Get 6 gamblers to carry my coffin, and 6 chorus girls to sing my song. Put a jazz band on my tailgate, so they can raise hell as we go along. Now that's the end of my story. Let's have another round of booze. And if anyone should ask you, tell them I got the St. James Infirmary blues.
Brian Eno is not known for his singing at all. I think it was probably a first to get him singing on a record. He's got a beautiful voice. A lot of people don't know that he sings in a barbershop quartet that rehearse in somewhere in London once a week for fun. You know, they sing barbershop quartet music. And he, again, is brilliant because he has a completely different take on music to a lot of people. But one that I like very much, and he kind of looks at, you know, makes music for buildings and things like that. So you'd find a building and just have the right sort of ambience, like it might be just a whoop, whoop, whoop.
Someday I'll get over you. I'll live to see it all through, but I'll always miss dreaming my dreams with you.
And then today we're with Lulu. In fact, any minute now, when we finish this interview, Lulu's going to come here. And she said she's on tour with us, as is Ruby at the moment. Yeah. And she said, what are we going to do? So we wrote a couple of songs. I said, let's write something for both touring, but also so we can record it. So we've written a song, and the first line on it is actually stolen from Shakespeare, from Henry IV, which you'll probably spot when I tell you the line, which is, of course, as every schoolboy knows, is the oldest of sins in the newest of ways. And that's the opening line. And it's really, because we were going to do a Bessie Smith song, which is called A Good Man Is Hard to Find, because you always get the other kind. Just when you think he's your pal, he's running around with some old gal. You rave and you crave, you wish he was in his grave. So take my advice, it pays to be nice. Love him in the morning, kiss him late at night. Do everything to make him feel just right, because these days, a good man is hard to find. And so Lulu was going to sing that. She said, I'd like to make it my own. And so the song then goes on to say the same sort of thing, you know, but you can't find a good man anymore, you know. They're very hard to find. I'm sure the ladies will agree with that. If you do get a good one, you know, that's what you've got to do.
Oldest of sins in the newest of ways. With me tonight, just like yesterday. Sometimes you win, but you still got to pay. And the oldest of sins ain't going away. My, makes me wanna cry, cry. Tell me, where have all the good guys gone? Why does it have to be goodbye?
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
If all my sessions was this easy, I would record all the time.
So would I.
Yeah.